Alrighty, hi everybody. Happy Sunday, July 6th. We are going to be talking about the Ingram Micro ransomware attack. And so the short story is Ingram Micro experienced an outage a couple days ago affecting their internal systems. Reports from news organizations like Bleeping Computer indicated that it was probably a ransomware attack by SafePay. And yes, I'm calling Bleeping Computer a news organization because they provide some of the best information about these types of attacks and other incidents and information about technology. They do a good job. So the summary is that Ingram Micro released a press release that they are victims of a ransomware attack. They did delay this, and this has caused some challenges to their reputation. The threat actors may have breached Ingram Micro through its Global Protect VPN platform. They may have exploited compromised credentials or used password spray attacks. There's not a lot of information, just information from sources that Bleeping Computer and other groups have accessed or have reached out to. So Ingram Micro has not been very transparent, so some of this is still speculation. So who is Ingram Micro? They're on the New York Stock Exchange, which means they're going to have to fill out a Form 8K. It's a leading technology company from the global information technology ecosystem. This comes specifically from their page. With the ability to reach nearly 90% of global population, they play a vital role in worldwide IT sales channel, bringing products and services from technology manufacturers and cloud providers to a highly diversified base of business-to-business technology experts. And so one of the things that they do is they work in the world of MSPs. So there's a lot of MSPs out there right now who have had to find workarounds and have had to disconnect, so to speak, from Ingram Micro to keep their customers functioning. And so anyway, so this is who Ingram Micro is. It's a very large company, and they make a ton of money. They probably have 20 some thousand employees worldwide, and they have been growing, and they have actually started working on AI digital platforms like every other organization and company on the planet right now. So some of the terms that are coming up in some of the articles I read, one is compromised credentials. This is a key method used by SafePay ransomware, which is the group that is being attributed to this attack. And so anyway, so this operation may have accessed compromised credentials. And once the access was gained, they used these credentials to further get into the system, and they took care of Ingram Micro pretty well. So what is a firewall? In this particular situation, firewall may have been misconfigured. It was identified as the point of initial access in a SafePay ransomware attacks previously. This misconfiguration allows local and LDAP groups to authenticate against the VPN, thereby bypassing multi-factor authentication requirements. So this is one of the ways SafePay has access to everything. So firewall basically is what tries to protect you and your company and your data from bad guys. GDAP, so granular delegated admin privileges. This term refers to the partner relationships that Ingram Micro maintains with customer Microsoft 365 tenants for support purposes. And so this could be any company that has this relationship, but basically it's about 365 support purposes. And then during the outage, concerns were raised among the customers and MSPs that breach of Ingram Micro systems could be compromised and these relationships could be affected. Technically, leading some to advise removing them as a precaution, which some of them did, while it was noted that GDAP roles often include limited admin access, which is different than global admin, as some might jump to that conclusion, and are independent of that relationship. The lack of official communication from Ingram fueled the advice to remove these relationships for safety. So again, the lack of transparency is going to be one of the big discussion points with this particular incident because it caused a lot of rumors and a lot of uncertainty, and they have way too many customers to have stalled on that. IOCs as indicators of compromise. These are specific pieces of data or artifacts that indicate a potential security breach or malicious activity. So this is when the good guys go in and they start looking around and trying to figure out what happened, and they try to follow the path. And so this lists one of the indicators of compromise that was recognized, and that is the workstation names. And so the ransomware executable file, the ransom note file name, readme, safepay.txt, and the SHA-256 hashes of various malicious files. Other indicators of compromise identified included a hard-coded command and control address and its associated traffic header, as well as the threat actor email address. And so some of the information I got for this one was on Reddit, again, because there was no transparency. And so Reddit usually has some really good information, and this was on their MSP subreddit. Multi-factor authentication. This is a security measure that may have been bypassed in this incident due to a misconfigured firewall. The firewall allowed local and LDAP groups to authenticate against the VPN without requiring MFA, contributing to the successful initial access by the threat actor. Again, this is based on speculation and previous incidents that SafePay participated in and successfully accessed other sites. So what are password spray attacks? This is a tactic associated with the SafePay ransomware operation for breaching corporate networks. It's often used in conjunction with compromised credentials and exploiting the VPN gateways, which we've already talked about. And then, so basically they just spray it with passwords and get one or two successes, and boom, you're in. Ransomware is a type of cyber attack that caused this particular global outage. And basically what they do is they lock everything down. They ask you for money, and you pay or you don't pay. And you get your access and data back, or you don't get it back. SafePay, this is the ransomware group that was identified as being responsible for this particular attack. It's a relatively new organization. I think they were first recognized around November 2024 and have accumulated over 220 victims, which is quite a bit. The ransomware appends the .safepay file extension to encrypted files and uses readme_safepay.txt as its ransom node, utilizes SHA-20 for file encryption, and employs anti-recovery tactics like deleting volumes, shadow copies, and disabling Windows automatic repair on boot. SafePay also features a language check to avoid operating in Russian-speaking and certain other Eastern European regions. So that's one of the ways that they try to figure out where these groups are, is do they try to protect certain areas, their geolocation, so that they don't get in trouble in their territory and get arrested. So this kind of helps them stay a little safer. All right, UAC bypass, which is user account control. This is a privilege escalation technique often utilized by ransomware groups. This technique can result in an elevated process created by a specified COM object that can execute malicious commands or binaries, and its use is often detected when the parent process is DLL a host executable with a specific CLS ID in the command line. VPN, this is where they are believed to have gotten their primary access, and so in this particular situation, Ingram's Micro Global Protect VPN platform is believed to be the primary method through which the threat actors breach the company's system. SafePay ransomware operations are known to gain initial access to corporate networks through the VPN gateways. What they do is they look for configuration problems, people not updating or patching. They try to use compromised credentials, and then they do this password spray attacks. That's their mode of operation. After the attack was discovered, employees were told not to use the company's Global Protect VPN access as it was impacted by the outage. And another thing to remember is that their internal systems were breached. They have said multiple times that most of their, all of their 365 resources were not affected. So what is some of the mitigation a company can do that is affected similar to this? So adaptive multi-factor authentication, this is becoming a little bit more important as time progresses, and this moves beyond the normal MFA, and it helps prevent bypasses that exploit outdated or static MFA protocols, or maybe even misconfigured ones, which was a factor in this particular breach. And so it uses contextual factors like a particular device, the location of that device or you, and your user behavior. What else can you do? Patch, patch, patch. Make sure everything, like your firewalls, especially everything that's public facing, needs to be patched. And audit, that's another one. So auditing is important. So would an audit have caught a misconfiguration or the lack of a patch? Maybe. Privileged access management, this helps limit moving around on the network if and when the threat actor gains access. So you want to manage access, give people access for what they need. Don't give them any more. That includes your higher level technical support people. Give them the access they need. They don't need everything just because they work in IT. Incident response plan, have one ready. Keep practicing and refreshing your memory. Use tabletop exercises and simulations to make sure that you're ready when that day comes, because the odds are extremely high that it is going to happen to you, whether it be a malicious incident or accidental. Think about CrowdStrike as an accidental, and this particular incident as malicious. So don't forget that there is a time when you have to report your incidents. And so in this particular one, Ingram Micro does have to report it to the New York Stock Exchange and their investors. So they have to do that. And then, but for taking care of the actual incident and the criminal activity that made you the victim, you need to make sure you know how to report these incidents. And so here's a list of a few ways to do that. You can contact your local FBI field office. You can also be reported to CISA. You can go to NSA if you're in Australia or Canada and New Zealand. They also have their own ways of doing this, but make sure you know how to report the incident, not just internally to your people and to your attorneys and to your legal risk management people and your incident command resources. Make sure you also report it to the governing bodies and groups that can help you outside of your organization. And credits. So we have quite a few credits for this one. Bleeping Computer is always my go-to. There are quite a few like the Register and Krebs and stuff like that. But Bleeping Computer, once again, is the one where I read most of the articles. I also have used Google AI services for some of this, for image generation, for help formatting and processing the information, and brainstorming. And yes, I am one of many people who like to use Notebook LM, and I did use that for this. Huntress article about not safe to pay, SafePay. Ingram Micro, their incident statement that they finally posted. NCC Group about weak passwords leading to SafePay ransomware again. And Reddit to try to get some information that you could not get from regular sources, because again, there was no transparency from Ingram Micro, and Reddit really helped break it down a little bit while I was waiting for official sources. And then of course Wikipedia to learn a little bit more about how big this Ingram Micro organization is and how big of an impact this is going to have on their customers and their customers' customers. All right, that is it. This is the Ingram Micro ransomware attack presentation. Hope you learned a few things. Thank you. Be safe. Have a good day. Bye-bye.